Welcome to the Unexpected Podcast, where your hosts, Lee and Amy, carry on simple conversations about everything from life experiences, the current culture, God, and everything in between. And because Lee has put Amy through years of surprises, this is her time to surprise him with unexpected topics he won't be privy to until the microphone is on and the camera is rolling. This is the Unexpected Podcast. Welcome to another episode, Lee.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Welcome everybody out there. How are you guys today? Everyone having a good day so far?
I hope so. I am.
What about you?
I'm having a good day. Doing pretty good.
It's been pretty good here. You know, I want to say something before we jump into our topic.
All right.
And that is, first of all, a big thank you to all of you out there who've taken the time to jump online, whether it's through YouTube or through an audio service. I have been so surprised and very blessed. There have been a number of times when either I by myself or perhaps both of us together have been out in public, and someone who we least expect will come up and say, "Hey, I've been watching your podcast. I really enjoyed it." And so, you know what?
Awesome.
That little boost kind of makes you think, "Oh, that's good. That's encouraging."
It is encouraging.
It's good to know that.
We appreciate that.
We do appreciate that.
So we appreciate our audience. Look at that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what, Lee? We're going to jump into a topic today.
Oh, fun.
Fun.
Here we go.
And I see you have a new and interesting hat.
Yeah, our youngest son has flew the coop and moving on and growing up and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And he left this hat in his room, and I was like, you know what? I want to wear it.
Right.
I may not wear it out in public. I kind of feel like that movie, was it Benny and June?
Yeah, I can see that.
Hat.
I can see that a little bit. But I was also thinking just Casablanca.
Casablanca.
Yes. I don't know. It could
Is
be.
that the Frankly My Dear?
No.
That's a different show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know my old movies.
You do know. It's just that when you get in front of a camera, you're like, I know that movie, but what is that movie? Anyway.
Deep Thoughts.
Yeah, you were actually quoting Gone with the Wind. Or you almost did.
Are we allowed to say that?
I mean, you know. We're not going to.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting that you brought up a movie, because we're going to be jumping into something that's not exactly on that topic, but semi-related.
Okay.
So if I had to come up with a title for this, at least a working title, I would call this episode How to Find a Happy Medium.
We don't follow those kinds of people. I ain't found very many happy mediums.
This is, I think he's playing with the idea of like witchcraft kind of medium.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what we're talking about, but that's
okay. Good.
That's good. So,
yeah,
not that kind of medium.
Grandma on the medium, she's a large. Sorry.
And not that kind of medium either. Not the one that falls between large and small. Not that kind of medium.
Okay.
So it's another play on words. It's the idea of medium being the singular form of the word media. We're going to talk about the media.
Media.
All right. And when I say media, we're going to talk about how, when we think of media, we think of mass communication.
Right.
The way that information is translated, whether it's, in the old days, it was newspapers. Those are still around here and there. But primarily now it's through television, the internet, and those kinds of platforms.
Yeah.
So, as you know, the media, those who run the media or control the media, have a lot of power, potentially.
Control. You must learn control. Sorry, I'm a Yoda fan.
Oh, wow.
Star Wars reference for all of us.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Well.
Unexpected.
Very unexpected.
Sorry. I'll stop doing that.
Yeah.
Right now, anyway.
All right. Well, I'm gonna lead us off with a couple of quotes from a couple of well-known people.
Okay.
And then we're going to jump into, because we're not just going to talk about media, but we're going to go into how it affects our lives but also how we can affect it, as well as how to live above its influence when necessary.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off reading a quote. Now, just because we quote someone on the Unexpected podcast who's perhaps controversial does not mean that we support everything this person ever did or said.
I don't know of anybody anywhere that we support everything that they do and say.
I don't even report everything or support everything I do or say some of the time. But
this is true.
But all right. But this is powerful, and it's something to chew on here. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it was Malcolm X who said this. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power. Ooh. Because they control the mind of the masses.
Oh, wow.
Now, that last sentence especially that's a powerful claim. I mean, that's a strong claim.
Strong claim.
He's not even saying they have the potential. He's saying they do control the mind of the masses. Now,
wow.
There's no doubt that we're all influenced to some degree, right, by what we hear in the media. But any thoughts on that?
Wow. How many? We don't have enough time, I don't think, in this podcast for me to go on as many tangents as I could go on with this one.
Yeah.
As you know, part of my education was in studio production and news and, actually producing, doing that. Right. And one thing I did learn in this education, and for those of you that don't know, the news you get in local news is transmitted under one script.
Right.
A block, B block, C block, D block. Now there are some local things that get thrown in there, and but for the major news, it gets translated and given to where people say the same thing. And they're just reading a script.
Right.
Don't hold it against them.
Right. They're
delivering the message so that it relays across our nation. That is something that I do know for a fact happens.
Right.
And those of you that are journalists, be a journalist. Report for real stuff, despite the consequences.
Right.
And I will say, wow, we got to walk softly on this.
Well, we
one
are.
A little bit.
We are
because I don't want to get canceled. We got canceled off of TikTok. That was nice.
Right. We're not sure why.
We're not sure why though. Yeah. We're not up on all of that stuff. But
right.
I will say that we are in the middle of information battles and wars.
Yeah.
What's true? What is not true? Right. How is this affecting this side of the political spectrum? Right. How is it affecting the other side? And who to believe? I will have to say, go do research for yourself and pull things that are from reliable resources. Now, you're a librarian.
True.
You work at a university.
Right.
I used to work at a university.
Right.
How much regurgitation have you seen, close to plagiarism of just parrots repeating something instead of having a natural thought?
Well, that's hard to say because it would depend on discipline. It would depend on area of study. I mean, that's kind of we could go there and we would veer
right.
way
Like I
track
said, we got
from where we're going tonight.
So
but
the media, a go-between. So the media is a go-between for the actual event and the people being informed. So the information and the informed. So the media takes the information and can take it in through their microphone.
Right.
And send it out into the airwaves however they want. and however they want to twist it.
Correct.
Or however true it is and how much truth they want to give. Now, I'm not much on NDAs. I've had to sign them before. I don't like NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, but a lot of media has to go that route to keep their job, I see.
Right. It's a complex world.
It's a very complex subject, Ames. You picked a good one this time.
Right. And I know we can't decipher it all in our short time that we have together.
See, I'm getting these questions for the first time. So your original question was...
Well, it wasn't necessarily a question. I just read a quote for us to jump off on.
Okay, so...
Well, and in this
again.
quote, in Malcolm X's final sentence in this quote, basically saying that the media controls the mind of the masses. But that brings me to the next quote that I wanted to share from a book called Amusing Ourselves to Death. And I read this book when I was in college. So I think this book by Neil Postman came out in the mid-'80s. But I think I read it in college because a lot of people were kind of interested in what he had to say. It's got a very interesting cover, at least the original cover, where you see like a family, but their heads instead of like actual human heads or televisions.
I remember that.
Yeah, you've probably seen that.
Yeah.
So in that book, he said this: a technology is merely a machine, right? So technology is just a tool. But he says a medium is the social and intellectual environment a machine creates. So whether we like it or not, I think we could agree that there are environments, there are sort of ways of processing information that come to be part of our lives because of the media that we interact with.
Right. And there are so many different facets to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Facebook, you have, whether we like it or not, those are media. It's social media,
right?
But they are a type of source that people get their news from, which, wrong or right, it happens,
right?
You know, that and Instagram and all of these other entities,
right?
I say entities because
Platforms.
No, they've become entities
now.
now.
That's true. That's true.
I will say that. I mean, that is something.
They take on a life of their own.
It does. Like Facebook is taking on a life of its own. Instagram, Snapchat, you know, all of those different ones. Reddit. Been around for years. I don't get on Reddit that much.
I only do if I'm delving into something really kind of fringe and no one else is saying anything about it, but people on Reddit are talking about it.
If these are the only source of media that you're getting, then you, whether you like it or not, you're being formed into something that is, you know, an algorithm is controlling.
Right.
And this algorithm is AI, whatever you want to call it. An algorithm is a calculation of what you want and what you need and what you think you need or what it thinks you need. And there's been a lot of stuff that's just come down to pike, and I'm not getting into, you know, any kind of theories or anything like that. These are just facts.
Right.
I mean,
they really
are.
They really
Big
are.
Brother is listening,
right?
For sure,
absolutely.
And those of you that don't get that, hi, Big Brother.
That's a reference to George Orwell's 1984,
right?
But used as a metaphor for the fact that we're being watched and listened to.
Yeah, I mean, we got surveillance and facial recognition, voice recognition, retina recognition. You have people putting chips to calculate or carry their money in their hand.
Right.
I mean, we've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And this media, this medium, I mean, I guess it is kind of turning into witchcraft because it's starting to control people and rebel against God. So isn't rebellion against God witchcraft? I mean, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, we're just thinking out loud.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
And, you know, we may be in trouble. We may have some, you know, men in black show up at our door. I don't know. It might be
Or
kind
maybe
of
we
neat.
did last night, but we don't.
We don't
Our
even know
minds
it.
were
We don't
erased.
remember. They flashed
we're
us.
totally joking. All right, but here's the thing. Here's one thing that I wanted to get at with this, because this is where my heart is, and that is that two things. A number of years ago, we started a company, if you will, called One Strum Media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that brings to me the question, what are the things that we can do to be a positive influence and a godly influence in media?
Yeah.
And the other is, with so much influx of information constantly bombarding us all the time, we can become very full of anxiety,
Yeah.
very full of fear.
Yeah.
And that's something that I want us to talk about a little bit. But before we go there, any thoughts on One Strum Media and what you feel?
Well, One Strum Media was something that I felt as though was a calling from God. If that, you know, people use that so loosely now.
Right.
And I try not to use it as much as possible, but
Right.
I felt like the Lord actually said this to me. From one strum of the guitar, conviction will fall and many will come to the Lord. And
So we started really with One Strum Records,
One Strum
focusing on music.
and then it just morphed into One Strum Media.
Right.
And I think the One Strum is the idea of unity and bringing people together and helping people realize their potential and being able to be who they are in God and finding themselves.
Right.
And we try to relay that message to our kids, to our friends. You know, do your thing. You know, go and do what God's called you to do. And if that's, you know, work at Pizza Hut or work at McDonald's, do it with all the, you know, luster that you can muster.
I like that. All the luster you can muster. All right, mister. Yeah, and you know, something that Lee said, which he didn't tell the full story. I'm just going to go ahead and tell it because I think it's relevant.
Okay.
When he said that he felt like the Lord spoke these words to him, from one strum of the guitar, conviction will fall and many will come to the Lord. Well, he heard that kind of in his spirit. Then he was in a prayer meeting as a pretty young guy, like what, 18, 19, with a bunch of women, and a woman he didn't even know, had never seen, came up and pointed his finger right in his face and said, pointed her finger and said the same phrase.
Same thing.
And then another person, another pastor that we know, confirmed it. So 3 times
I heard
those
that.
words were spoken. So, you know, there was this...
with no connection to each one. And
right. Which may sound crazy and far-fetched, but, you know.
Same exact words.
It happened.
And I'm in awe of who God is and what he's done and where he's going with us. And in this media venture.
Right.
Some of you may have that calling on your life to go and do a podcast, do a song, write a song, play a song, perform in front of somebody, or write a book, or write a screenplay, or become, you know, an influence at your job. Say something to somebody that may encourage them, you know, to be an encourager. Right. You know, these social influencers, which is the new coined phrase over the past decade. I'm a social influencer. And nothing wrong with that, as long as you're influencing in the right direction and not just being a pessimist that's taking people down with you. Because everybody knows misery loves company, and they will take you down if you let them. People who are like that are very, very, you know, I've heard the new phrases, it's very toxic. Those people who that you get around that just drain you and want to pull away from you. They're not socially apt to help you get to where you need to go. Right. They want you to come down to their level
Well, this brings me to a good thought.
Okay.
Kind of a final thought, because we'll probably wrap up here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
But so when thinking about the media, I'm thinking constantly, how do we combat all that we hear, things that could sound like bad news, things that could bring anxiety, things that can bring fear, because whatever you feed on is eventually going to rule your spirit.
Right.
And so I love Psalm 112. It's one of my favorites anyway. But it starts out saying, praise the Lord. How joyful are those who fear the Lord and delight in obeying his commands. And then it gives all these promises to those who fear the Lord. And in verse 7 of Psalm 112, it says, they do not fear bad news. They confidently trust the Lord to care for them. And to me, that is so powerful, because just because you hear bad news doesn't mean you have to fear bad news, because God's promises are true, and we have him as our divine protection. And I think that's going to be so important in the coming days. I mean, it's always important. I love that Psalm 91 talks about his protection, and he blesses those who dwell with him.
You're right.
And so
absolutely.
Sometimes it's just as simple as turn off the news.
Yeah.
Or turn off all those voices.
The talking heads.
The talking heads. I like to have a balance. I like to know what's going on in the world. But there does come a point where sometimes you just got to turn it off, and you've got to turn on the good news that God has for us.
And that's now we talk about privilege. As a child of God, we have a privilege, and that is we don't have to worry.
That's true. It's true.
Even in Matthew chapter 6, it says, don't worry.
In fact, we're out of God's will if we're worried.
Right.
I mean,
oh man, that'll stir up some stuff. Why you tell me I'm not supposed to worry about my kids? You're not supposed to worry about your kids. You can be concerned. Sure. You can have a little bit of like, you guys have got to chill for a minute, and come back this way just a little bit. You got to guide your children.
Absolutely.
You got to help your friends sometimes when they make these bad decisions. Oh, excuse me. But I do believe that we have an advantage because, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. That means we keep our cool when everything's bad. So we're a sound mind. We, not giving us a spirit of fear. We don't have to have that fear. Right. Worry.
Right.
That something's going to happen. What was it we used to say is like, if we're in the tent on the side of the road, we will still serve the Lord.
Serve the Lord, yes.
And lose all these world. It's just money.
Just stuff.
It's just stuff.
You won't take it with you.
You can't take it with you.
What was it I read the other day? It's like we spend 2/3 of our lives acquiring stuff, and then the rest of our lives trying to get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff.
It's time to clean house. And it's time to say goodbye to a bunch of junk. In ourselves,
right,
and in our home,
right?
Because there's stuff that we ain't touched in 20 years,
right?
That needs to go. Yeah. There are some sentimental things, more mental than sensual, but hey, get rid of it. You'll be free.
Yeah, and we've been in that process, haven't we?
We have. We've been cleaning out.
Yeah.
There's a few things. It hurts.
Cleaning. It does.
It hurts. It's like, ooh, I was going to do that. I know as a dad, that piece of trim, I will put that in one day. 20 years later, that piece of trim, I will put that in one day. What is it?
Maybe tomorrow.
On that, was it the stairs that I've got to finish up the cove mold?
Oh, yeah. Half the staircase has the cove mold in the back.
I am a work in progress, as is our house.
But that is... that's on our punch list.
The punch list.
It's going to be.
Yes. Anyway.
All right. Well, I've got one final thought.
All right.
And then we got to go. And I had written this down kind of in reference to this topic. I wrote this down in my journal. If you have truth in the inward parts, you won't be swayed by lies, and you won't be swayed by fear. So
there you go.
I am thankful that we can just reside in the peace of God despite the bad news.
Right. Yep.
All right.
Well, keep the good news in your heart. Subscribe if you haven't. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching the Unexpected Podcast.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.